A book haul that I got on two separate occasions. Now, when I decided to pick up books as a hobby and make reading my whole personality, because I have this addictive nature where whatever I get into, I go all in. And for a long portion of my life, I was addicted to video games, and not in a healthy way, to the point where video games would stress me out and affect my day-to-day schedule. So I decided to do books instead, and I'm going to be honest with you, that has been one of the best decisions that I have made. Now, I got these books a while ago, but back then, when I decided to do books, there was no plan or agenda to document it for YouTube or social media. However, here we are, because I figured I can't be the only guy out there that has been positively impacted by turning to reading books as an adult. And as I began this journey, I had to reflect and think about my own past life. So growing up, I always saw books as a chore, right? Because of assigned reading and having to read books that I just had no interest in. However, with that said, there was one book that I read front to back that I remember thinking very fondly of, and that was Ender's Game. So just so you know where I'm coming from, I think Ender's Game was a 10 out of 10. I would read it again. That good of a book. And Ender's Game falls under the umbrella of fantasy. So because the one book that I actually enjoyed was a fantasy novel, I jumped down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what fantasy book I should read as an adult that's getting into books. So anyways, I picked up these two books at Grassroots Books over in Reno, Nevada when I used to live there. Apparently, they're both bangers, right? The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Funny enough, based on my research, this is supposed to be a 3-novel series, but apparently, based on my limited research, the internet tells me that the third novel will probably never come to fruition. So, I shouldn't even be bothering to begin with this one because I'm never gonna know how the story ends. And as you can see by the bookmark, I'm about like 60 pages in, and it's a pretty good book so far. And I also got this one, The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch over at Grassroots Books as well. And as you can see by the price tag, I paid $2.99 for this one used, and this one was also $2.99. This one I have not yet started, but apparently this is also a banger. So 2 fantasy books that I picked up 2 years ago that I have been procrastinating on reading. So I really need to read these 2 books. And then the next 3 books, I feel like I got really lucky. So there's a thrift shop near me that offers this amazing deal where you can fill a grocery bag with as many books as you want and only pay $1. And on this particular visit, I feel like the wind was in my hair and I was just really lucky or something because I found 3 Stephen King novels side by side on the bookshelf. In the bookshelf itself, there's no rhyme or rhythm. It's chaos in there. They're all over the place. So for me to stumble upon 3 Stephen King books on one visit, I was like, please, take my $1. First one is Just After Sunset by Stephen King. This is the 15th anniversary edition. And as you can tell by this book, the spine, it's well loved. Pretty excited to get into this one. I just finished reading my first ever Stephen King novel, which was Fairy Tale. So I understand how good of a writer he is. I'm still not sure which next book by him I should read. Should this be the one? So we have Just After Sunset. And then this next one, I believe he co-authored or wrote with someone else. And it's The Talisman by Peter Straub and Stephen King. And this one is pretty heavy. This is a brick of a book, which is funny because the next one is even like twice the size of this one. And I'll be completely transparent with you. I have no idea what this one is about, but I decided, hey, Stephen King, one of the most hyped authors of all time on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube. So it's going to be a blind read, and I hope I am not let down. But judging by how it's by Stephen King, I don't think it's going to be a disappointment. Or it will, I don't know. The last one, now this one I've already watched the movie, so I know what it's about. And apparently some people argue that it's the best book that Stephen King has ever written. And it's really intimidating. Not because of the cover being kind of creepy, but because of the size. This is a brick. Like you could literally take this to a home invader that comes into my house. I could smack them on the head. I can knock them out. It's that big of a book. But it's It by Stephen King. And when I tell you, I just feel like I was lucky that day. I'm not exaggerating. 3 Stephen King novel books for $1 at the thrift store. My goodness gracious. But this one right here, I'm scared to get into because I have this weird personality where if something is too long winded or boring, it's not that I give up, but I take a really long extended break. So, my question to you is please do me a solid. If you have read It by Stephen King before, is this one of those books where it's like a page turner and it's really engaging? Or would you suggest that I start out with one of these other Stephen King novels? Because I'm a beginner reader that has just fallen in love with reading books. But then there's also this like David Goggins part of me that's like, hey, stay hard. You better tackle this. You can do it. You can read it. And I'm like, I want to read a book that I know is going to be engaging from start to finish. And I feel like this could be the one, considering how it's so popular and everyone says this is the best book he's ever written. So I don't know. So there you have it. That's book haul number 1 of the collection that I have on my bookshelf. You should watch the second one and the third one. I'll release those really soon. But anyways, until next time, stay safe.